Welcome to the Elusive Truth with Rich and Larry. I'm your host, Rich. Let's get started today with...
May the 4th be with you.
That was dumb. May the 4th be with you. Happy Star Wars Day, people. And now for some breaking news out of Washington, D.C. I guess today there was 2 separate incidents where gunfire erupted, one near the White House and one at J.D. Vance's motorcade as it was traveling in Washington, D.C. today. And I find it unusual that we're having more attempts against our politicians. Just, a few days ago, we had the White House correspondence with the shooter there. Things are just getting kind of nuts. So this is Asmongold. It's a quick little quirky clip explaining what happened today. Have a listen.
Apparently there's a shooter at the White House. Look at this. That's a whole lot. Trump is still speaking? I mean, I guess so. Confirms a man was shot by law enforcement near the White House, causing the White House to be locked down. Triggered temporary lockdown of the White House, security area. TikTok trend at this point. I mean, again, the more that they allow this type of language to happen on the internet, the more you're going to have people willing to be crazy or to go out there or do something that's problematic. Shots fired again at the White House? What? Again? Wait, do you mean like you're not talking about like it happened again, right? Like this is like you mean like the second time today? Oh, it is another person. An armed man opened fire in vicinity of J.D. Vance's motorcade near the White House. The man opened fire on Secret Service. The USS returned fire, taking the shooter down. So it happened again. Oh my God. This was 5 minutes ago. This sounds kind of coordinated. I don't know, maybe. This is getting close to civil unrest about this. Someone's going to get killed actually in office. I think that's what's going to have to happen. Where somebody in politics and in political office is going to have to get shot before they do something about this. So there's been 2 shootings near the White House today.
Secret Service police to make contact with
Bad boy alert.
Vice President's motorcade did transit through this area. On making contact, that individual fled briefly on foot. Withdrew a firearm and fired in the direction of our agents and officers.
What happened to him?
Returned fire and engaged. That individual was hit. He's since been transported to the hospital. That at least one, I believe only one bystander was hit by the suspect.
Was enjoying a vacation in Washington, D.C. We saw presidential motorcade drive by with 20 motorcycle officers and 10 SUVs, and then heard shots fired. This is the first one? Yeah. People seem to have gotten radicalized. There's only one way this can end. This is where things are going. And I talked about this in a video that I made about this. This is a natural consequence for this behavior because the Republicans have controlled the government now for almost 2 years. There hasn't been a single serious effort made to curb online extremism. At this point, I feel like they want it to happen. Well, I think it's going to have to happen. And I'm not talking about like a podcaster or like a political activist. I don't think guys like J.D. Vance or, like Trump see Charlie Kirk as like one of them. Like he's inside of a different realm and what happened to him is unique to like his experience. I'm talking about an actual politician. And I saw this, Charlie Kirk said this. Assassination culture is spreading on the left. It worked. And so 48% of liberals said it will be somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. This is the real issue here. Why are we having more of these assassinations and why are we having more of these security breaches? Because we're having more attempts. At this point, I think that if the Republicans end up getting assassinated, I'm not really going to feel that bad. And the reason why is because you've done nothing to stop this. You can't let this keep going. You can't let people continue to do this. Eventually, something will have to give.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's a lot of rhetoric going out there from the left and Democrats. For example, Hakeem Jeffries. He's pretty mad that the Supreme Court decided to vote against this racial profiling of the gerrymandering of the state's seats, is the best way to put it. I mean, they're just constantly changing it and making it more beneficial to Democrats and not based on voters.
Did Hakeem Jeffries do anything today? What was that about, that 8.5-hour intermission?
he embarrassed his party, frankly, and they really don't have anything to run on. They have nothing to argue. There's no principled policy or platform they can stand on right now, and they don't have a leader. It was performance art. And what Republicans are doing is delivering results, not performances. I think the contrast was clear for the American people, and we're delighted to have that on the world stage.
So continuing with Hakeem Jeffries and DeSantis, this next piece is DeSantis mocks Democratic threats. Have a listen.
On final passage of HB 1D, the clerk will unlock the machine and the members will proceed to vote. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? The clerk...
Complete maniacs in there. Despite Democrats' protests, a new congressional map has cleared Florida's legislature, positioning Republicans to potentially gain 4 more seats in Congress. Joining us now is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor, thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends.
Good morning. And, that clip is really, unfortunately, emblematic of the modern day Democrat Party, to just scream and yell and try to disrupt the proceedings just because you don't get your way. I mean, the reality is we have thumped the Democrats in this state since I've been governor, and we control the chambers and obviously the governors. But this map is important because for 2 reasons. One, we actually had a racial gerrymander that the Supreme Court just said is unconstitutional. I knew that was going to happen, so we called the special session back in January for April because we figured the decision would come out. But the other thing is the Florida today is not the same Florida of 2020. We've netted 2 million people.
That's right.
We've had a massive change in demography. And so these lines are compact districts. If you look at the map, it's visually appealing. It's not like the Virginia one, but it does reflect the fact that we have had explosive growth in parts of our state.
Yeah, people are going to your state because of the conservative policies there. No state tax, that you can be safe there. This is what Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader for Congress, had to say about the gerrymandering battle. Watch.
Democrats haven't lost the gerrymandering battle. We're winning it. And everybody understands that. Regardless of what they do in Florida, we'll continue to push back. So don't let any MAGA extremists fool you about what may ultimately result from this decision.
Governor, are they winning?
Well, I can tell you this. Last week, he threatened Florida and said that if somehow we went through with a map that we were going to have hell to pay, he was going to come down and we were going to pay the price somehow. And look, those threats may work when you're running a political machine in Brooklyn in your district.
Right.
Those threats do not work on me. And so we released the map on Monday. The legislature passed it on Wednesday, and that is that. And so, but this guy's a real piece of work because he thinks he can issue threats. He thinks that's the way people want to see. And a lot of people don't know who he is around the country. He's more left than Pelosi. Midterm elections are tough when you're the party in power. You always have to battle currents. But I will tell you, the more voters know that a vote for Democrats could be a vote to put Hakeem Jeffries in speaker, that is going to help Republicans. So I've invited him down to Florida. I'll pay for his travel. We'll take him around the state. The more voters see of him, I think it's better for our Republican candidates.
Well, him and Pelosi, AOC, they love the vacation in Florida as much as they talk about Florida in a negative way.
Well, AOC was down here during COVID.
Exactly.
And when she was ripping Florida for being open, then they see her down in Miami Beach. And she wasn't the only lockdown politician then. We had a whole litany of them. We even made a T-shirt, almost like concert dates. Every time they'd be spotted in Florida, we'd add a new one to the back of the T-shirt.
Come one, come all. So speaking of that, Governor, a lot of people are leaving these liberal states because of the high taxes. They just can't take it. The crime and the high taxes is why people are coming to Florida, coming to my home state of Texas as well. This Seattle mayor made this disturbing comment. She almost just straight out laughed at the people leaving her area. Here she is.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown. And if, the ones that leave, like, bye.
So, Governor, it's something interesting that is really happening with these politicians. It's like, they're not changing their policy, and now they're making fun of their tax base leaving their area.
Well, I always tell people, because I'll be like, oh, man, you Florida, you guys, you did this, you did that. Man, how we want other states to be like you. How'd you do it? And look, we've done a lot. We've led on a lot, and I'm proud of that. But, I also have a cheat code here. All I got to do is look to New York, Illinois, California, Washington State, and then just do the opposite of what they're doing. And that works out very, very well. And so, yes, they've repelled a lot of people from their states. Florida has been one of the places, of course, for refuge. And I think we've had more adjusted gross income move into the state of Florida since I've been governor that has ever moved into any state in America in the history of the country, even adjusted for inflation. And then you look at guys like Ken Griffin moved his company down. Right. There's jobs, increases the tax base, all that. But I will tell you this, Lawrence, the amount of philanthropy we've seen. I mean, he's probably given hundreds of millions of dollars, probably more.
They never talk about that.
And they moved the philanthropy down to Florida. They never talk about it. But I will tell you, I see him giving $50 million like every week to something down in Florida. So that's something that they are scaring away. And then you see what Mandami did in New York to try to go after. Like, people see this, they notice it. So yes, we've had a good, I think, a good policy approach. But man, these other states and jurisdictions, they're really helping us.
Well, Governor, you've done a great job, and your term is coming to an end, and we look forward to seeing what's next. We really appreciate you coming on Fox and Friends.
It already looks like there's several states going through their process of redoing districts, redrawing the map, so to speak, based on this ruling and trying to get back to being fair. But a lot of craziness been going on in our government for a long, long time. And now we're finally realizing it, and it's coming to light. And now moving on, just this past week, James Comey was indicted again. And I don't know if you heard, but the left was trying to say, just because of seashells, there's no way, there's nothing on him. Well, that's what they want you to believe, that it's all they got. But this is Benny Johnson, the real reason James Comey was arrested. Yeah, have a listen.
Somebody who's going to certainly need as much fortification as he possibly can get is James Comey. James Comey is the top line lead of the show. We were too excited about our historic white pill to get to this. But what we've learned over the last 24 hours is that it wasn't just the seashells that got James Comey in trouble, indicted, and arrested. It was actually some of the subtext behind these seashells. Somebody who's been studying this for quite a while and who knows the ins and outs, who actually, and I can't believe I can even say this about one of my friends, read James Comey's book that he was hyping and promoting at the time, is the great journalist and somebody who's been OG hardcore MAGA since, I don't know, 2015, since perhaps even before MAGA was first initiated on the golden elevators, the great Jack Posobiec. Jack joins us live. Jack, welcome back to the program. We have something that is very curious here with the James Comey indictment. It's, of course, under seal, so we don't know exactly what was presented to the grand jury. But you have a suspicion that it's not just James Comey in a Borat Speedo arranging seashells while listening to Taylor Swift.
Well, that's exactly right. And Benny, I have to, thank you and the audience here for when you played that clip of Attorney General Blanche yesterday being asked about me, of all things, yes, and a post that I had made years and years ago in the context of Joe Biden needing the 25th Amendment, as I'm pretty sure we were all saying, including Kamala Harris, which is what I had been reporting at the time behind the scenes, that Attorney General Blanche pointed out, he said, no, we don't make indictments based off of just speech alone. We don't make indictments just based off an Instagram image of seashells. We do investigations. They take a full year. The grand jury interviews people. We look at evidence. And that is what an indictment is based on. So you start with something and then you investigate, and then you get to the point where the grand jury felt it was appropriate to make an indictment in this case. Now, as we've looked further, one of the things that we popped out, and shout out to the great Viva Fry, because he was the first one to put this together last year. And then I went back and actually looked at what he was talking about, to your point about this book. So you have to realize there was a trilogy of Instagram posts that he had made that day. One was him reading a book, then the seashells, then a link to purchase the book and a description of the book. And it may surprise many people who are listening only to the mainstream media or the CBSs of the world, who, by the way, still haven't invited me on. And even though they're happy to call for me to be indicted, they won't even ask me if I'd like to respond in any way. Well, it turns out that the subject matter of the novel was political assassinations. And not only that, Benny, but when I went in deeper in the book, I found out that specifically it was about dog whistles calling for political assassinations. So using coded text, coded language, coded phrases to call for these assassinations. And the villain in this novel is kind of basically Alex Jones. It's basically a write-up of Alex Jones, and the main character, who is totally not a female James Comey, is this hero New York prosecutor who's the only one who can come in.
His daughter. Maureen Comey. Oh, got it.
Maureen Comey. Yeah. Is the only one who can come in and save the world from the evil Alex Jones, who, again, is using secret codes to call upon his followers to conduct political assassinations. And again, this is the plot of James Comey. I'm not saying this. This is the plot of James Comey's book. Is the actual plot of FDR Drive. If you read it, which I unfortunately have, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. But what's more sinister than anything else is, keep in mind that this came out right around the same time when these stories were being written about that TV show, The Savant, by Jessica Chastain, that they were putting together, which also had a similar plot line. Now, they had to pull that after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and many people had suspected that it had a very similar plot line to the James Comey book, and that's why it had to be pulled. I think there were some rumors of, advanced copies and screeners kind of floating around that sort of purported to this. So the real question is, number one, of course, who was pushing this narrative in media, which is a broader question that I want to get into. But the deeper question here is, that means that James Comey knew exactly what he was talking about. And there are going to be text messages and emails and interviews and witnesses, all to the point of underlying and examining. He had intent, he had strategy, he had purpose. And the piece that everybody was missing in the indictment was the asset forfeiture. Why would there be asset forfeiture involved in an indictment like this, you ask, especially to all the people who say, oh, well, we don't know, what evidence there is. Well, here's a clue, and it's a big blinking signpost. Asset forfeiture means you made money. You received proceeds from an offense, proceeds from a crime. This is, of course, illegal under federal law. You cannot commit a crime and then make money from your criminal behavior. I've written books. I've never committed crimes in the promotion of my books. But it seems that the Department of Justice and this grand jury is saying this guy did something for money. There is motive here. And that's where I believe that it all comes together, that this was a scheme to conduct this incitement in order to get the headlines and then play victim and then sell copies of his book, which he did on Stephen Colbert and others. He knew what he was doing from the very start. And I know that you've made the point as well. He clearly lied about this over and over and over. And the question is, did he lie about it to federal agents?
Yes, we just found the shells. No, you didn't, bro. You didn't just find the shells. You weren't walking on the beach with your wife. You were sitting there hyping your book. You put the shells together clearly as a promo. And it would be pretty easy, I guess, if you wanted to go around and lie about it for a federal agents to say, here's all your DNA on a shell, right? Like, you clearly, if you did this. I mean, if they were really on it, Jack.
I will admit that I went a little Zapruder film with this, because if you actually look in the first picture of him sitting on the beach, he's surrounded by seashells. And so I was like,
hey, Alex, do we have that? Do we have the old seashells? Are those still up on Instagram?
Seashells at the second. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Alex, will you grab that on Instagram? Like, producer, hey, Alex or Danny, can you see if we can get that?
It's clearly the same beach. It's clearly, if it's not those shells, it's like shells that were right there, obviously.
James Comey's Instagram. Let's go see if he's wiped all of this, be from 1 year ago, or if those photos of him on the beach hyping and hawking his garbage book, if those still exist. Because if they do, it'll be, okay, well, here we go. Here's a screenshot of what James Comey's Instagram looked like at the time. So here it is to back up what Jack is talking
the
about.
Trilogy of posts.
So here's James Comey with the exact same seashells right next to him.
See?
That's right there.
They're right there.
There they are.
Where could the shells have come from?
This is full Zapruder. You're exactly right, Jack. Dude. Yeah. Those are the same shells.
It's literally the same shells.
So James Comey is on Stephen Colbert's show blaming all of this on his wife, saying that he and his wife were just taking a leisurely stroll down the beach and they saw this. And his explanation makes no sense on Stephen Colbert. Not even Stephen Colbert was buying it, obviously. Somebody left their address. Oh, wait, this is something from my childhood when we'd 86 a place. Let's get out of this pop stand. Like all of it was silly. Stephen Colbert tried to back him up, but it didn't make any sense yet either, make a joke. So they probably launched this. How Shakespearean, Jack, that they would do this, because this is exactly the perjury trap that James Comey sprung for General Flynn, isn't it?
And it certainly is in the early days of the White House administration. And so the Trump's first administration. And so this is why it's in some ways, it's a sort of poetic justice for James Comey to be facing this, because he himself set the perjury trap for General Flynn. But what's I think even more damning for him is going to be the fact that clearly this was all planned out. And clearly, again, if you look at the plot of the book, it's a book about a guy using dog whistles to call for political assassinations. And the idea that he himself would write a book about that, but then suddenly have no idea what they are in reality, just doesn't pass the smell test. Because, in fact, sir, not only are you aware of these things, you literally wrote the book about these things. It's right here. You're promoting it. We have all the evidence we need, with 400, 500 pages of evidence, whatever it is. So this idea that, because I saw some people running around saying, oh, we can't prove intent. We can't prove intent. It's right there. It's right there. It's so obvious. And by the way, in cases around the country every single day, intent is proven over and over and over. And so even for people who say, oh, well, there are, the restaurants say 86, and like Green Day has a song called 86 from the 90s. And it's actually a pretty good song. I'll give them credit. It was before they went like totally crazy and lost their minds. I got to be fair, Benny. I got to be fair. But
full Subaru lesbians. Yeah.
It was before they bought the Subarus, you know what I'm saying? And his hair was like kind of close to the original color, whatever that was. The mascara wasn't completely out yet. I don't know. But the idea is that he clearly meant it in this vein, because he was writing and selling and marketing a book about it. It's very clear as day. And to me, to my mind, that's why the grand jury, keep in mind, a grand jury is already a group of people who come together and look at evidence and decide whether or not charges should be filed. And even in just, again, being fair in the interest of that, there have been other times where grand juries have refused to go and file charges on Comey because they thought, it was either political or they were just too political, a DC grand jury, et cetera. So this time around, they said, no, this is an incitement to violence.
This is my final question for you, Jack, because I think it is a critical one. He didn't do this on Martha's Vineyard. He did this in Republican area of North Carolina, and that's where he's charged. And so how is this going to shake out?
Well, the way it's going to shake out is that he's going to have to, now he'll initially file for the charges to be dismissed. He'll say you haven't proven probable cause, you don't have enough evidence, and at which point they'll have to have the preliminary hearing, which is similar to what we're seeing happen with Tyler Robinson. The preliminary hearing actually hasn't occurred yet. That'll be happening here in about 2.5 weeks. And so that's when the evidence actually is revealed. And that's the point that I'm hoping in both of these cases, that we as the public, and of course we as American citizens, get to see everything unveiled for the full public, for the light of day, unsealed. It's not every piece of it that you're going to get. They usually save more for trial, but at some point we are going to see video. We're going to see, and in the James Comey case, we're going to see emails. We're going to see text messages. We're going to see, did he have conversations with his book publisher and his marketing agents about this, guerrilla marketing, viral outrage campaign to get it out? Because look, I've marketed books. We did AI songs and videos, and we held events. We went down to Mar-a-Lago and did a whole thing. Actually, the SPLC wrote us up. So I have to thank the SPLC for helping me make the New York Times list by going after my book so hard that it made everyone want to buy it. But you know what I didn't do, Benny, is I didn't threaten to kill the president of the United States. I just, it didn't seem like a good, in fact, I don't even remember anyone suggesting that.
ALX knows what I'm going to call for here. I'm going to call for the photo of Jack staring down the face of the helmeted Antifa gimp that wanted to kill him and was threatening to kill him in a mob. I personally witnessed this. And I think this is probably a good way to close on this subject matter because assassination culture is, of course, normalized. Yeah. On the left, they don't get any hit back. Nobody ever gets punished for this. Jimmy Kimmel keeps his job. He can make whatever jokes he wants to about Charlie and his death and his grieving widow. None of these people are ever punished. And that is why I'm going to cheerlead this to wherever it goes, because here's the photo. And I was standing just to the right of this. And this was a mob that was trying to kill Jack. And it was Jack versus probably 70 people at least, frothing at the mouth, Antifa BLM, defund the police activists. And it changed me forever. Actually, witnessing this is when I went home and told my wife, we're leaving DC because it'll be our child or us next. And these people they've gone over a cliff. They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us. Even down here in Florida, there are multiple people that have been charged and are waiting in federal prison right now for trials for trying to kill my family, Jack. So this is like a normal thing that people deal with. Someone has to be punished for it. Savannah Hernandez is obviously going to be bringing charges. This is like great to see that happening with Savannah. What happens next? Does this just accelerate exponentially to open hot war, or does something chill out here?
It's really interesting, Benny. There's a clip of an interview that we did actually when I was promoting Unhumans, the communism book, and it was a clip with Charlie that I just keep going back to, where he asked me this really poignant question. And, in the now, a year and a half or so since then, it's taken on a life of its own. He said, Jack, how big was the Russian Empire? And I said, well, it's Russia, Charlie. It's like 100 million people. It's huge, right? It's a giant empire. He goes, okay, because this is Charlie. He's very quantitative. And he goes, okay, and how many Bolsheviks were there? And I said, I don't know, at one point, probably about 1,000 in the whole country. And he says, well, how could a country that large succumb to a group that small? How could they do it? How could they take over the entire Russian Empire? And I said, Charlie, people didn't take it seriously. They didn't take it seriously. And now here we are a year and a half later, and people still aren't taking it seriously, Benny. They're not taking seriously the threat that if someone is willing to use, or a group of people is willing to throw off all shackles of morality and humanity, and to use the most brutal, vindictive, and bloodthirsty tactics imaginable, the Mangionis, the Tyler Robinsons, the Cole Thomas Allens, they're not going to stop. They are not going to stop until they're stopped.
We're incredibly thankful for the DOJ. It seems to have gotten supercharged under Todd Blanchard the last couple of weeks. Or maybe Todd Blanchard just like finishing the work and doing it quickly, right, to move on. But either way, we're thankful for the results. And the only way that you can possibly have a result here is to charge the SPLC, is to charge the people who are writing seashell notes of assassination or attacking Savannah. That's the only way that it'll stick. Or to go after the fraudsters and put them all in jail and to like frog march them and show people. You can't do that. You have to show people. There has to be a gear that grinds against this. Otherwise, we'll all be dead, right?
It's a law of the universe. For every action, there needs to be an equal and opposite reaction. It's a law of physics.
The equal and opposite reaction happening to James Comey right now, and the man who's been investigating it and literally wrote the book on it is Jack Posobiec. Please go ahead and follow Jack here. Of course, he has millions and millions of subscribers, and Jack has a show available on Human Events and on RAV every single day. Also a proud proud turning pointer with me. And so thank you, Jack, for being in the fight.
Thank you. And I wore my Benny Johnson uniform today, so I wanted to be in solidarity here.
I know. I noticed we're slow. Our backgrounds and everything we're slowly blending together. If only I just got to grow the beard,
Exactly. Yeah. Or I got to shave. Maybe we'll see.
Thank you, Jack. Godspeed.
I believe that was very interesting. Now we'll just have to wait and see what happens during this trial. One of many, I believe, that's going to start happening ever since Pam Bondi was taken out of the Attorney General's position. Things are starting to happen. Hopefully. It's been a long time coming. But I will say I'm not holding my breath. I want to see more. I know the American public wants to see more. People have to be held accountable for this. And there's a good chance. You never know. This is definitely crazy 2026 super circus clown world. That's for sure. All right, let's turn our attentions to this, the Iran conflict. Just absolutely nuts. I'm telling you, go to Doocy TV on YouTube and you will get the latest information, unbiased, and really know what's going on. Like the United Arab Emirates about ready to launch ground forces because Iran keep launching ballistic missiles at them. It's just crazy. They have not honored their ceasefire. And crazy enough, there's a lot of Americans who say that we're lying and we're losing the war, or they want us to lose the war against Iran. And it's just absolutely nuts. There really is. It's crazy. So this is Jessie Waters, Fox News. This is a death sentence to Iran. But again, go check it out. There's a lot happening, and I think we're on the right course here, folks. You got to trust our president. He's doing a good job. Have a listen.
Fox News Alert, Central Command has just initiated Operation Project Freedom. The mission, unblock the strait. The president says if Iran interferes, it's a death sentence.
I spoke with President Trump for 20 minutes about the situation with Iran. He talked about Project Freedom and the U.S. efforts to guide vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, issuing a new warning to the Iranian regime, saying if the Iranians try to target U.S. ships in this area, they will be, quote, blown off the face of the earth.
Iran's Mosquito fleet tried to test the operation, and they got wasted by attack helicopters.
We have an enormous amount of capability and firepower concentrated in and around the strait, including A-864 Apache and M-860 Seahawk helicopters, used just this morning to eliminate 6 Iranian small boats threatening commercial shipping.
15,000 American service members are supporting Project Freedom. Multiple U.S.-guided missile destroyers sailed right up into the strait and are now operating with impunity in the Persian Gulf. 2 carrier strike groups are not only providing support to clear the strait, they're also pulling blockade duty. And they're packed to the brim with over 100 land and sea aircraft on deck, including fleets of Warthogs, F-15s, F-18s, F-35s, and Growlers. The Pentagon has assembled a massive amount of firepower dedicated to unlocking the choke point.
The Mosquito Navy is being swatted. Numerous ships, maybe in double digits, have been destroyed. And the U.S., we are just firing if fired upon. We are not the provocateurs here. But if the Iranians want to escalate here, we are willing to escalate.
So this is clearly a test of Iran as well as we speak, correct?
It is a test of Iran. But Bill, again, this is a ragtag band of pirates.
This isn't an offensive operation. This is purely defensive. And we have a secret weapon, R2-D2.
The United States Navy has a tremendous ship defense. We have the Aegis missile defense system to get incoming missiles, and then we have the Sea-Wiz, the close-in weapon system. They call it the R2-D2 of death because it looks like the small character from the Star Wars movies with a giant machine gun that shoots 2,000 rounds a minute. And so we have enormous defenses to protect against the missiles coming into U.S. ships.
If it flies, it dies. We created a defensive umbrella around the whole waterway, basically an iron dome over Hormuz.
That dome defense will make certain that anything fired that penetrates through the layer of defense will be defeated. that fast boats that come out and try to intervene will be defeated, that anything on the surface like a fast boat or actually below the surface will be defeated, that anything coming from the land, maybe a shoulder-fired missile or something like that, would be defeated. That's the dome defense.
There have been over 1,000 commercial vessels that have been stranded in the Gulf since the start of the war, including 5 American-flagged ships. 2 of them sailed right through today. The Hormuz Dome did its job. And the goal is for ships to leave and return safely, back and forth, back and forth. We aren't just doing the ship-to-ship escorts, though. This is a much bigger and more efficient operation. We've demined a safe passageway for commercial vessels to transit out of the strait, and we're knocking down any threat to freedom of navigation. We're assuming the risk here. But the president's also setting an example for other countries. The president said this, quote, Iran has taken some shots at unrelated nations with respect to the ship movement, Project Freedom, including a South Korean cargo ship. Perhaps it's time for South Korea to come and join the mission. The Iranians launched a few drones and missiles at our Navy and foreign vessels, but everything was intercepted. And since then, the enemy stood down. The Mosquito fleet's never been weaker. Admiral Cooper, who spent his entire career operating in the Strait, says these fleets used to come at you by the dozen. Today, they came in a little 6-pack, and we spanked all 6 with Apache and Seahawk gunfire. Not only are we lighting up their fast boats, we're seizing their tankers.
We then land on top of it, and we took over the ship. We took over the cargo, took over the oil. It's a very profitable business. Who would have thought we were doing that? We're like pirates. We're sort of like pirates.
The blockade's already turned around 50 Iranian ships, 50. Now, if we reopen the strait while the blockade is still in place, it's over. They have 0 cards to play. They'd be cornered at the negotiating table. The Iranians keep sending us proposals, but POTUS keeps just knocking them down.
We don't know who the hell we're dealing with. They call up, this is Mohammed so-and-so, and I say, are you a leader? We're looking for a leader. It's the only country in the world. Nobody wants to be a leader.
The president didn't want to wait around for Mohammed's next 14-point peace plan. Sources tell Axios he wants action, doesn't want to sit still. He wants pressure. He wants a deal. And Tehran made a big mistake today. Not only did they fire at ships, breaking the ceasefire, but they launched a handful of missiles and drones at our ally, the UAE. The Arabs knocked down all the missiles, but a drone started a fire at a key oil terminal. Luckily, they put out the fire. Iran was given a choice. They could either get strangled by the blockade while they watch the strait reopen, or they break the ceasefire and lob missiles at civilian targets. They made a poor choice because now the United States is probably going to finish them off. Sources tell Fox that we are closer to major combat operations than we were 24 hours ago. The commander-in-chief says we have more weapons and ammo at a higher grade than we had before. Generals say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
I think it's more likely than not that we will return to combat operations to finish these guys once and for all. One thing I think we have to do is make certain that our CIA and our Mossad have got plans, and they're working them right now, to undermine this regime covertly and also assist the Iranian people. Because as this thing starts to break apart, the vulnerability of the regime and its leaders and lack of trust in one another, we can take advantage of that and also encourage the Iranian people to get out there.
Keen's pretty plugged in. He's suggesting that the final blow could trigger regime collapse and that intelligence assets are preparing the ground inside of Iran for a potential uprising. The Guard's vulnerable. They just missed payroll.
Their economy is in free fall, and everyone says they have a high tolerance for pain. Well, their soldiers will not have a high tolerance for not getting paid.
The regime made an enormous strategic mistake by bombing their neighbors, because their neighbors said, oh, yeah, well, guess what? We just wiped out your bank accounts.
they really miscalculated when they started bombing their Gulf neighbors in a kinetic fashion. And in response, the Gulf neighbors, who I would describe as somewhat permissive in allowing Iranian IRGC money, Iranian regime money into their banking systems, have been very fulsome and come forward and given us the details and allowed us to freeze those assets.
The walls could be closing in. They can't sell oil, rugs, or pistachios. Meanwhile, we just sold $8.5 billion in weapons to Gulf allies. So if the war cost $25 billion, we already made back a third. It's not bad. Trump's clearing the strait while he's slowly choking the gay Ayatollah in his sleep. Pretty soon, he'll head to Beijing with a strong hand.
We're leading China in AI, and I'm going to go see President Xi in 2 weeks. I look forward to that, but I'll say I'm leading. We have...
It's not just AI. We have the Chinese surrounded. We've been conducting board and seizure drills with our Philippine allies. And the 7th Infantry, for the first time ever, just fired some missiles from the Philippine island of Palawan right towards the South China Sea. Call it a little chin music for Xi. But who knows what's next? Anything could happen. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Well, in my opinion, I don't see the IRGC surrendering or doing anything. I believe United States and its allies are going to have to resume bombing and taking care of business. It's just one of those things. You can see it on the writing on the wall, so to speak. But that's just my opinion. Who knows what's going to happen? But I believe we're going to go right back into this full strength. I don't know. Crazy world we live in. And because of that, and I say that all the time, crazy world, circus world, but it really is. Because for the next piece, again, we're back to Fox News with Peter Doocy. UFO expert issues chilling warning on mystery crafts that outmaneuver U.S. military. If this is not a distraction piece, I don't know what is. But again, they've been here all along, and we're just starting to learn about it. So, once again, have a listen.
They want to find out about the UFOs and anything having to do with UFO or related material. And we're going to be releasing a lot of things from that we have. And I think some of it's going to be very interesting to people.
Many historic developments in a story that I've been working on for 5 years, but our next guest has been working on for much longer. So let's start here. My interest was piqued when Barack Obama said this in 2021.
When it comes to aliens, there's some things I just can't tell you on air.
I was so curious about that. So I asked the only man I knew at the time who could possibly help.
President Obama says that there is footage and records of objects in the skies, these unidentified aerial phenomenon. And he says we don't know exactly what they are. What do you think that it is?
I would ask him again. Thank you.
Not very helpful, Joe. I haven't had a chance to ask Barack Obama, and it had been eating at me. And then he said something else.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51.
If the last president couldn't help us with answers about aliens, maybe this one could. Spoiler alert, he did.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know?
So aliens are real?
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information.
Jeremy Corbell is an investigative journalist and the co-host of the Weaponized podcast. He knows more about this than anybody, and the new movie about him, Sleeping Dog and UFO Disclosure, is excellent. I watched it yesterday. Jeremy, there are 46 videos that Congress wants the Pentagon to declassify. The Pentagon missed the deadline to do it. But will these 46 videos be convincing enough to have Americans saying, I have no doubts aliens have visited Earth?
You know, I think that these are data points. I think these 46 videos are really important. I think the American public should be able to see them, and so does Congress. They specifically identified these 46 videos because They know that these videos exist. They are designated UAP by our own military and intelligence services. I have been exposed to a number of these. In fact, George Knapp and I provided that list to Congress. We've actually released some of those videos. So the American public is ready for this. Now, what it's going to tell us, what the end result is going to be, it's another data set of footage the American public can look at. But here is what I know for a fact, Peter. There are machines, there are craft of unknown origin that fly with impunity in our restricted airspace. And our government has been assessing this as a national threat for decades. The jig is up. People now know UAP are real. But what are UAP? Who are flying these machines? Who made these machines that can outpace, outmaneuver, and outperform our greatest warfighters? That's the question.
And so you were just talking about this. We've got video that we can put up on the screen. One of the videos that your sources helped you guys get out of a government vault. It is a UAP over Syria in 2021 flying at an impossible speed, demonstrating instantaneous acceleration. This is the video. A lot of people will look at this and say, well, it could be China, it could be Russia, it could be somebody else. But when you see this and the other videos, some of the 45 other videos that you have seen, what do you think?
Yeah, look, we do not have the capability, unfortunately, for instantaneous motion. The idea of inertial effect and what would happen, this is baffling to the intelligence community. What George and I put out, it is their analysis that this is demonstrating, this craft, which is not aerodynamic. When you look at this video, it instantaneously shoots off to the right once the Reaper drone got a weapons grade lock on it. So its ability to maneuver is far beyond anything that China, Russia, or the US has. Look, this is a known secret on the inside. It's an open secret that UAP are real and that they're able to evade sometimes detection, but absolutely our weaponry. And it's an issue because they are oftentimes loitering over sensitive, critical infrastructure within the United States. This is not me saying this. This has been admitted by our own administration and government. I think we're closer than ever. The intent is to bring the truth forward to the American public. We are closer than ever, and it's just got to be done now.
And my last question, we have 2 minutes left in the show. You've reported that some of these UFO files for generations have been kept secret even from sitting presidents. Who would have the power in this country to decide, if not the president, that the American people don't have a right to know about something so important like UFOs?
Right. This is game changing, and it's nature itself. It's not something that should be held back. And presidents have admitted that they have been held out from that information. Very famously, President Clinton talked about that. Not the first time he said a president's been lied to. Well, now the pressure is on. Congress is asking for these 46 videos. And if we've ever had an administration and a president that sees the public interest and would enact upon that for the people, it would be this sitting president. So I'm very encouraged at this moment. We have an opportunity. None of these have really been announced. It's an opportunity now for the American public to understand the UFO presence is real and that it's been going on a long time, and has been of national security concern.
And we have less than a minute left in the show, but we asked our audience if they had questions for you, and Lena sent one in. She wants to know, are they, presumably aliens, walking around right now and we don't know it?
Yeah, so if we don't get past the first question, we don't get past the first acknowledgement, we're never going to know the interaction that whoever these pilots are of these craft of unknown origin that they believe do not originate here on Earth. If we don't get past that first question, we're never going to be able to answer that question.
Well, we've been trying to make this happen for a long time. Jeremy, thank you so much for being here. This is a story that we will keep asking about at the highest levels of government. So thank you.
Yeah, I encourage people to watch the film Sleeping Dog that's coming out because it does dive into investigative journalism on this, how much progress we've made.
And we will watch. That's all we got. I'm Peter Doocy in Washington. See you next time.
See what I mean? UFOs, aliens amongst us, yet it's going to happen. That's all they say. No proof yet, folks, but we're talking about it at least.
May the 4th be with you.
Obi-Wan. May the Force be with you. Goodbye, old friend. May the Force be with you.
Hey, Luke.
May the Force be with you.
Well, there you have it. Thank you for joining me down this rabbit hole. Crazy stuff going on, and there's so much more. This is just the just but a dusting of the craziness in the past month. So, with that, keep looking for the elusive truth. God loves you. We love you. God bless our troops. Let's get this stuff taken care of. Let's get back on to peace and prosperity. And may the 4th be with you. God loves you. We'll see you soon. Bye.